How's it going, you guys? AZPlayout21 back again. After quite some time, I had mentioned in my little update video earlier on in the week that I was going to be doing something like this. So here we go. A little bit of an update for you guys. Like I mentioned, I have been playing WMMA 5 on my own. So I haven't been updating you guys. I haven't been uploading to YouTube, and for that I apologize. I know that it's getting dry out here when it comes to WMMA 5 content. Not many people are posting. I know that Minimum Wage Gaming posts some of his stuff, but it's not necessarily a UFC save. But he does really good stuff, and then apart from that, I really can't think of anybody else. But I know that people have been missing my UFC save. I know that I've really been the only person who's really done an in-detail UFC save and kind of explained the inner workings of the game as efficiently as I can. So what I'm going to do for you today, if you're new to WMMA 5, I'm essentially going to call this a reboot. Not even a reboot, kind of just like a restart on the save, and kind of just give you a big ol' update on it. Go through the inner workings of the games with anyone who may not be as well versed as someone like myself in the game, because I've gotten so used to the game I can go to any button and tell you exactly what it means and if it's necessary or not to you, really, depending on the company that you're in. So I am here in my UFC save. We're in year 2022. It starts out in 2018. So I'm just going to go over to event history here, and I'm going to show you where we left off, and then I'm going to show you where I am now. So these are all events that have already happened. And so if we take a look, right here is right around where I started. So right here, this is the last official, in quotations, like real life event that happened in this game save, and that was in January of 2018. So I've effectively played about 4.5 years in game of managing the UFC, managing all the fights, the contracts, the other promotions that I'm in control of, which I'll explain in a little bit. And my first fight card was McGregor versus Ferguson, a fight that I'm sure people would have wanted to see in February of 2018, not necessarily now. Khabib versus Nate Diaz, that would have been really cool too. Gustafsson versus Shogun, Mendez versus Korean Zombie. You know, fights that back then would have been, nice to see. And so you got Aldo versus Swanson, Gastelum versus Brunson. I had Woodley versus St. Pierre. This was back when we thought St. Pierre still had a chance to fight again. Of course, now he's retired. And then Cyborg versus Durandamy. Durandamy is actually going to be fighting Amanda Nunes for the bantamweight title. That's going to be coming up later on this year. Cormier versus St. Preux. Doom versus Struve. But as you can see, obviously, this is not where we left off last time. We left off, let's see where we left off exactly, because I know I went through a bunch of fight cards with you guys. We did go through this Faber versus Almeida fight card. I know that for a fact. Well, let me see here, because I'm not exactly recognizing a lot of these. Let's see. You can pause and take a look at any of these if you're curious. I'm just trying to see exactly where I left off with you guys. This is all live, Nothing is being done. Okay, Jakashi versus Miller. Wow. Did I really play a lot beforehand? Okay, wow, actually, yes, I did. So I already started out in 2020 when I started going over the save with you guys. So I'd already been playing for 2 years before I even mentioned any of this to you guys. UFC 250 was the first event that I think I'd covered with you guys. And as you can see, they were all 5 of the fights on the main card were all championship fights, ending with Joseph Benavidez beating Demetrius Johnson, who's now in ONE FC. Flyweight champion in real life is now Henry Cejudo, who's now the actual bantamweight champion. Just a bunch of stuff has gone on in real life MMA that has been crazy, and it's wild to play a game like this where anything else can happen in the world of mixed martial arts, and that's exactly what the game's called, World of Mixed Martial Arts. So I've gone through Neto Adesanya with you. Adesanya is really close in this game to getting a title shot, even though he's currently the interim middleweight champion in real life, and he's going to be facing Robert Whittaker for the unified title in Australia. That's going to be dope. I'm a big fan of Adesanya. I don't want to say he hasn't been good in this game because he's won virtually every fight he's been in. If we take a look at Adesanya here, he actually has won every fight that I've given him. It's just been a matter of me not giving him chances, really. So you can see here, after that Neto fight, which was the main event of that card, he got Johnny Hendricks, Alessio Sakara, CB Dalloway, Diego Sanchez, and then Rafael Carvalho. So it was more my fault, if anything else, of just not challenging him and putting him up against, more challenging fighters. And I can imagine that's a hard thing that actually happens to fighters. Playing a game like this, it kind of makes you appreciate MMA for what it is. You have to give credit to the people like Dana White, to the people who run things like Bellator, ONE FC. Like, they have a lot on their plates. Like, they have to manage the wants and needs of these fighters. They have to manage the wants and needs of the fans. They have to find, venues for events and things like that. It's all really easy in this game, and I think that would be something that would be really cool in a game like WMMA 6, to actually have to bid for venues and deal with agents and things like that, because it's all kind of really easy, and you can kind of just finagle with things and assign fighters really easily. Like, as the UFC, it is so hard to actually lose a guy. The only guy I've lost in this game, is Alexander Gustafsson, and that was just a micromanagement issue on my part. I just forgot to check an email, and I forgot to see that he received an offer from, I think it was M1 Global or something like that. It was literally just a stupid mistake on my part. Had I not made that mistake, he would still be with the UFC, and I would still have around the top 98% of the best fighters in the world. The only fighters that I haven't been able to get to the UFC that I really, really would have wanted to was Fedor. And that's really about it. I'm sure I'll come across some. I think there's some in ONE FC that I really want, but I think they're more women fighters just because my women's divisions are somewhat lacking. But yeah, you can appreciate the inner workings of the MMA world, and I think that's why I like a game such as this, just because I really enjoy the management side of sports. I was an athlete back in my day. I say back in my day, it was 7 years ago. I wasn't the best athlete. I played soccer, I played baseball, I ran cross country, I kicked in football, but I still have a love for sports, and that's why I'm getting into sports broadcasting. I'm taking classes in sports management and coaching because I still want to be a part of this. It's just I don't have the physical attributes for it, if I'm being 100% honest. So we left off right here, and I'm trying to see exactly where we left off. I think Luque versus Nelson. I do remember that. And I think right around here is where we ended things, because I do remember Luque versus Nelson, and I think around here is where it ended. But as you can see, after that, I've been playing on my own, and I've had a lot of stuff going on. So instead of going through all of the fight cards that I've gone through, because it's too many, I run at minimum one card every single week, and I run 2 cards on 1 week out of every month. So that's a total of 5 cards every single month. So I run 5 cards every 4 weeks. So if I do my math correctly, that's 5 cards a month for 12 months. That means I'm running 60 cards every single year. So that's 60 fight nights every single year. All right? So there's roughly about an average of 12 fights every single cards. So 60 times 12, that's, if my math is not as stupid as I think I am, that's roughly around 670, something like that. Around 650 fights, I think. I'm stupid, so that math is probably wrong. Around 650 fights a year. That's crazy. So that means that there are 1,300 fighters utilized every single year, in quotations. Obviously, I have a lot of fighters already here, so I try to give every fighter a minimum of 2 fights a year. It's very hard because there's still things in this game that happen, like injuries, like hiatuses, things like that. But I try to make sure that every fighter is getting a fight, because that does happen in the UFC, where a fighter will kind of go on hiatus and not get a fight for like 3 years. We just saw Nate Diaz come back for the first time in 3 years, and he won with an incredible performance against Anthony Pettis. I saw that fight at a bar, and I was just, it was dope, believe me. Like, if you aren't into MMA in real life and you just watch these videos to get a sense of the game, and you go do yourself a favor, go to your local sports bar or go to ESPN Plus or something like that and actually watch like a UFC event or a Pride FC event from back in the day. It's MMA is wild. You know, it's like boxing but better. It's like kickboxing but better. Like there's literally anything that can happen in a sport like the UFC, and it's a terrible sport to be a part of because I started training recently in MMA. And it is a grueling sport, and I do not know how other people can do it because I did it for like 3 months, and I was absolutely beat. I lost a lot of weight. I gained that weight back. I lost a lot of weight, and it was really helpful for me and my confidence, but just overall, it's just draining. It's just really draining on you. So please, I urge you to go ahead and watch the mixed martial arts. But as I said, this is a big ol' update, and this is a little bit of a rant because I haven't been on YouTube in a long time, like I mentioned in the video earlier on, so do pardon my ranting. Of course, you can skip ahead for all this if you want to get to the WMMA 5 part. So, this button right here, the website, it just brings you back to this main screen. This is very helpful because I like to look at these, the major stories, mostly because you're able to see if anyone is out of contract. So if we just go down, like right here, on the market, Penrod Ankeny, he's 2-2. Now, normally I would not go for someone who is 2-2. That is a terrible record. He just started out in his career. But if someone was 2-0, say like Veda Arteaga, 7-3-1, I would definitely sign them. And I wouldn't put them right away in the UFC. It says here she's under contract with me in the UFC. Taking a look at her fight history, she's had 4 straight fights in Invicta. Now you might be asking, Adrian, what is Invicta? I've heard of Invicta. If you're a well-versed MMA fan, isn't that all-women's promotion? Yes, it is. It is that all-women's promotion, and yes, they are owned by the UFC and me in this game. So what I've essentially done is I've used them as a feeder league to sign prospects. I send them to Invicta, and I let them duke it out, and if I like what I see, I bring them up to the UFC. Essentially, every champion that comes out of Invicta, I immediately bring up to the UFC because they've been able to prove that out of the top prospects that I choose, they're the best. So to me, that kind of tells me they're good enough to be in the UFC. Now, sometimes it doesn't work out, and I have to send them back, just like a minor league system. So that is what Invicta is to me. And I will give you a closer look right here. So these are all of the people that I have signed to Invicta, my all-women's promotion. And then right here, ROC, Ring of Combat, is my all-men's promotion that I have for all of my prospects. And I have a shit ton of people signed to ROC as well. Alright? Now, if you go here to your child company screen, it's really cool because if you really have a prospect that you really want to tailor to, and you really want to like make things easy for them so you can get them to the UFC or get them up in the rankings quickly, you can go here to matchmaking instructions and click on protect. What that's essentially going to do is, like it says, never book them in fights where they're going to be the underdog. That's essentially if you want to make sure they get wins. I don't do anything as far as the matchmaking instructions because I'm just trying to get the best people up here. So I let the booker for that promotion in game deal with all that, deal the championship fights and whatnot, and then once there's a champion, I bring them up. Or once I see someone's on like a 6-fight winning streak, I bring them up because they're going to have a lot of hype under their name because they're on a nice winning streak. So that's the child companies. We'll take a look at the actual rankings for that child company, ROC, Ring of Combat. As you can see already, the number 6 ranked company in the world. When I bought out Ring of Combat, they were at like number 20. And I've gotten all the way up, mostly because I have a TV deal for them. So not only are these prospects gaining experience, they're going to get actual exposure on TV. And that's only going to make their name value higher. So that way, when I bring them up to the UFC, they're already well known. So that way, you know, the fans already kind of know them. So they're like, oh yeah, we've seen them in Ring of Combat. We know they did really well there. We see them on the UFC network all the time. So of course I'm going to know who they are, and they're going to do well in the UFC. So as you can see, the upcoming events here, Saturday of next week, we have Noah Masongo taking on Nashawn Burrell. And it says Noah Masongo is world ranked number 3, but he's only 7-1, not necessarily somebody that I want to bring up right now, but if he were to win the championship, he'd definitely be brought up. You also, this was something more of a fun thing that I did for myself. I signed Logan Paul, who of course fought KSI in that celebrity boxing event last year. I also signed KSI, but he lost to Logan Paul, so I cut him. But Logan Paul is 1-1 after he lost his last fight to Timothy Wolf. And so I have him going up against Mariusz, Polish names sometimes suck for me. Mariusz Kajakowicz, I'm going to say. But he recently won the championship in ROC, but I don't like promoting people off of one win in ROC. So I had him do another fight, and he lost the title immediately. So back he's going at it again. And so that's going to be that as far as ROC. Taking a look at their rankings here. Full rankings. All these people are under my control, essentially. They don't have any authority to actually sign outside people. So everyone here is under contract with the UFC technically, but they are not in the UFC. So I got full heavyweight, light heavyweight, middleweight, all the, weight classes that you would see in the UFC. They're all here. Not all of these weight classes have champions because they usually get brought up immediately by me. And as you can see there, we actually have a strawweight division in ROC, and that is something that I'm trying to get going in ROC and try to build it up so that way I can have an Ultimate Fighter tournament and crown the first champion in the UFC. Now, we already have a champion, Jay Overstreet, here in ROC, the number 1 strawweight in the world, low-level national, not exactly well-known. He's 31 years old, 5 feet tall, because the atomweight division is, of course, like 105 pounds, ridiculously small. But, something that I'm looking to get going. I think it'd be pretty cool. Of course, the flyweight division nearly got demolished in the UFC, but we won't go there. Invicta, the number 9 promotion in the world. They have only a couple of fight cards going on. They have the Atomweight Championship going on. You can see the rankings there. Of course, all these girls under my control as well. Jermaine Durandamy, number 19 featherweight in the world, but she's on quite a losing streak, so I just sent her down to try to get some wins under her belt. And hopefully she's able to get back on top, so that way I can bring her back in, have some quality fights at the featherweight division. Bantamweight division, Sajara Eubanks, of course. There, she's had a couple of things not go her way. She missed weight for one fight. She demanded to be fighting Valentina Shevchenko for the title, and then she lost her last fight, so looks very good on her. Women's flyweight division, women's strawweight, and women's atomweights. So that's Invicta, but that's not exactly what else you guys want to see. Going over all of these buttons. Of course, I told you about the major stories, updating you on things such as people who have signed elsewhere, people who are out of contract, any events that are going on, and just any other news that will be going on in the world of mixed martial arts in-game. Result screen brings you to all of the results from other promotions, including your own. So you can see the, of course, results from Invicta, ROC, and our last fight card, which was UFC 271, Luque versus Davis, where Vicente Luque beat Joey Davis to defend his welterweight title. He has essentially become a god in this save. Number 5 pound-for-pound fighter, and has been the welterweight champion for a long time. Has 4 defenses now against the likes. Well, first of all, he beat GSP for the title, and then he defended it against Gunnar Nelson, Platinum Mike Perry, Nico Price, and then Joey Davis. So it takes a lot to become the champion. It takes even more to actually defend it. So for someone to defend any title 4 times is ridiculous. That's why people like John Jones or Stipe Miocic are held in such high regard. Just like not only be able to get to the top, but to stay there, know that everyone else is fighting for that chance, and just deny them every single time. Also, 31,000 people in Georgia went to that, so I've been pulling in a lot of money gate-wise. Imagine if 31,000 people were to go to the Georgia Dome or something like that to watch a UFC event. That'd be dope. All right. World rankings is exactly what it sounds like. A majority of these people are going to be signed by me. This is the pound for pound list. Jose Aldo, number 1. Thomas Almeida, number 2. Anthony Rumble Johnson, number 3. Conor McGregor, currently on hiatus, number 4. Vicente Luque. Naoki Inoue, who is my flyweight champion and has done quite a good job at it. He has 2 defenses against Jose Torres and Hussier da Silva. After that, Paulo Costa, who we just saw beat Yoel Romero. Very sad because I'm a big Yoel Romero fan. He is the middleweight champion and he has been for quite some time. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 defenses. Ridiculous. I have a feeling he'll be champion at some point in real life as well. So that's the pound for pound rankings. You got the super heavyweights, which I do not have a weight class for in the UFC, so I really don't bother with that. It's kind of stupid to me. The super heavyweights. Heavyweights, Harrison Magallanes is our heavyweight champion. I mentioned that in the update video, but it would appear as though he is not the number 1 heavyweight in the world, despite being the champion. Ben Rothwell actually holds that regard, and he will actually be fighting him next for the heavyweight championship. That's already been decided. As I can pull up my little notepad here, the return of the notepad, of course, where I put all of my ideas for title fights and things like that. All these names down here are prospects that I have to sign for Invicta and ROC. So a lot of little micromanaging that I have to do in this kind of stuff. It gets a little tedious after some time, but it's worth it and I like it. I like this kind of grind and it's why I do it. So if we go back to the website, right here's free agent rankings. Now if you want to sign somebody to your promotion, you want to come here, Saul Rogers, number 1 free agents, and I don't think, he's on hiatus from MMA, so I can't sign him. But if you were to come back from hiatus, I'd definitely sign him, send him down to ROC, and if you were to get a couple of wins, maybe bring him up. He's 19-3, but I don't think, well, he was in ROC recently, and I think that's why I cut him. So he was originally a part of my team. I think I just cut him just because he quit MMA for a little bit. He's not fully retired. He'll be back eventually. But yeah, so this is a good place to find some people if you don't necessarily want to go ultra mega scouting. However, if you do want to go ultra mega scouting, you can always go here to the characters tab and you can search by literally anything that you want. By age, by gender, by if they're black or white or Mexican, if they're available, the division that they fight in, whether they're popular or not, if a certain fight team that they fight for, whether or not they're undefeated. Like I can search for every undefeated fighter here. So if we go to max losses, I'm going to drag that down to 0 and available for hire. So this is going to find everybody who is undefeated who I have not already hired, and I'm pretty sure it's just going to be did I not search correctly, or is it just thinking? Okay, it's just thinking. And it's going to find every fighter who has 0 losses, who is currently not signed to me. So it's all just a bunch of like 2-0 fighters, essentially, as my computer is slowing down. When your game save gets to be 4 years into it, it's going to slow down quite a bit. Alright, so it's all a bunch of 0-0 guys that I have not bothered to sign. Who is this? Okay, it's a women's heavyweight, not a men's heavyweight. Take a look at that. She is female. She's heavyweight. I don't have a women's heavyweight division. No Gabby Garcia's here. Was 1-0, 2-0. So if you want to kind of slow it down, or not slow it down, but speed it up a little bit, you can also increase the minimum fights tally, so that way you know you're getting at least someone with a little bit of experience who is undefeated. So that'll narrow it down a little bit, give a computer a little bit more time to think, of course. Oh, my laptop should not be this slow. I haven't used this in a while. You can see clearly. But a bunch of female heavyweights. Ooh, a super heavyweight, which I don't use, but can he fight at heavyweight? 385, so no, he cannot. Ridiculous. Women's bantamweight. I can use you. See, this is really cool. She's fought a bunch of local fighters, but she's 5-0. She's not signed to anybody. And she's a women's bantamweight. I do have that division, so I'll go ahead and make her an offer here. So Timey, so 4 fights. We'll give her 4 fights in Invicta, see what she's made of. And now I'm going to go back to my notebook, put it at the bottom. Timey. All right. And I'll go ahead and save that. And so now I know that she needs to be sent down to Invicta when she is signed, because there's a 99% chance that she signs with us. All right. So back to the website we go. Company sizes. This is if you want to see if there's any other companies that are threatening you. There's literally nobody who can threaten me. High level international, high level national. One championship is the next best thing. And there are a couple of fighters that I kind of want to sign from ONE FC just because they're like highly ranked, but not necessarily anyone that's like, oh, I absolutely need to sign them. It's just more of a, that'd be kind of cool to see how they would do. Like Cavalcante, he's rated kind of highly in this game. Number 3 lightweight in the world. I'd kind of like to have him. He's on a big winning streak. He's defending his title a lot over there. At this rate, you feel like the UFC would have already signed him. It just hasn't been able to happen. Michael Trezano was another guy that I lost due to micromanagement issue. I think I just forgot to re-sign him because he was coming off a win, so there was no way I was about to not re-sign him. It was just kind of a dumb error on my part, and that'll happen. I'm sure that happens in the UFC too. They just forget to sign people. He's number 13 featherweight in the world. I'd kind of like to have him. Herbert Burns just got a contract in the UFC through, I believe, Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. So maybe bring him into Angela Lee. Right. So Angela Lee I would really love to bring in. I believe she just lost in real life. I'm not 100% sure, but she would be a great asset to have in the atomweight division. She's the number 1 atomweight in the world. I have an atomweight champion already, but she is not that highly rated. Definitely not as popular as Angela Lee, so it'd be really cool to have her on the squad, and I believe that is it. So yeah, ONE FC, one championship is the closest thing. Bellator, not necessarily. They have just a bunch of like 3-0 fighters that duke it out, because after they go 4-0, I sign them and I send them down to Invicta or ROC. So I'm essentially the end-all, be-all of mixed martial arts in this world, which is really what it's like in the UFC. So end-of-year awards, you can see Fighter of the Years and whatnot, awards that are given out at the end of the year. So a cool little feature there. MMA Hall of Fame, people that have been inducted. People can get inducted organically in this game as they retire. It is really cool. You can also, in your company Hall of Fame, choose to induct anyone that you'd like. So it's primarily cosmetic. Like Daniel Cormier was inducted in April of 2022, and GSP was inducted, and so was Randy Couture. But you can choose to induct anyone that you like. Even if they lose every single fight, you can induct them. Diary. This just goes over all of the upcoming events, literally every single one, so you can kind of just get a gauge on what's going on in the game world, on your opponents and whatnot. Records, it's exactly what it sounds like. So best show, critical, best show, commercial. Critical means if they were all good fights. Commercial means if they sold. And I sell a lot. Most broadcast revenue, $41 million from Holm versus Rousey 2. I'd imagine that would bring in a lot of money too. Best fight, worst fight, I actually ran. Awful fight at UFC Fight Night, Wang versus Bravo. That's pretty funny. Quickest win, 8 seconds. Nice. Quickest knockout, Ahmed Aliev beat Frank Camacho. Now 8 seconds. That is 3 seconds higher than the actual quickest knockout, which we saw recently too, when Jorge Masvidal knocked out Ben Askren. That was pretty crazy. And so if we return home and strengthen numbers, this is mainly just about like who has the highest amount of money, who's won the most in the game, things like that. Just pretty cool if you want to like take a look at stuff that's happened organically in the game. Database size shows you like the amount of fighters in each weight class, which is kind of cool to see. You can see there the straw weights. Not a lot going on there, which is kind of why I want to like merge those two together, but I'm not entirely sure if it's going to happen. It's alright. Things like these happen. Not a lot of female fighters to begin with, like in as a whole. I wish that was a little bit more. Nonetheless, that's just the way things are. Staff. That's literally just the staff for the in-game broadcast, in-game newspaper and things like that. Let's see here. So go over here to your cell phone. This is where a lot of the business stuff will be taken care of. I already showed you the fighters tab. where all the fighters are shown, as it takes forever to load again. Wow, my computer is really wanting to piss me off today. Alright, go to the companies tabs where all the companies are. You can take a look at their rankings, take a look at their rosters and things of that nature. That's the fight team tab, where you can take a look at all the fight teams and take a look at who's where. Did I just see Khabib's name somewhere? Okay. Where's Eagles MMA? Because I know that's... Oh, AKA, probably what it was. American Kickboxing Academy. Alright, well, Cain Velasquez is there, but not Khabib. Where's Eagles MMA? There you are. And Khabib is right there. Khabib has had a tough go in this game save. He won his first fight against Nate Diaz, lost against Tony Ferguson, then beat Kevin Lee, then lost to Kohair, which sucked. Beat Gilbert Melendez, lost to Justin Gaethje and Khamzat Daliev, beat TJ Grant, and then just recently beat Anthony Pettis. So Khabib hasn't had the best career in this game save, which kind of sucks considering how dominant he's been in real life. He's fighting Dustin Poirier pretty soon. I'm really looking forward to that, as I'm a big Khabib fan, big Poirier fan as well. So it will be curious to see how that fight turns out. So now going back here is the media tab, where you can sign up with various media outlets, try to get some TV deals, pay-per-view deals, things of that nature. And then this is just the world tab, where you can take a look at the world and see how MMA as a whole is doing in those regions, so that we can get a gauge on, maybe I want to go to this region to do a show, maybe this region. I really don't necessarily pay attention to this, because I know anywhere that I go show-wise, I'm going to make money, so I don't really pay attention to it that much. I kind of try to space it out, like where I go event-wise, just so I can get every region a show every year or something like that. But it's okay. I digress, and let's take a look at our champions, and let's take a look at what's to come for WMMA 5 here in this UFC save as we go to our belts. As you can see, once again, Harrison Magallanes is the heavyweight champion. Take a look at him a little bit more in depth in this fight history. He started out in Invicta back when I only owned Invicta. Remember, I bought ROC about 2 or 3 years ago in this save. And then I kind of split them off and made Invicta the women's feeder league and made ROC the men's feeder league. And that took a lot of time to do between releasing it, because I technically had to release everybody. I had to release everybody and then send them back down. It was ridiculous. But he had 3 fights in ROC. I brought him up because there's not a lot of heavyweight prospects. So I figured, why not let him have a go? And then in his 3rd fight in the UFC, he beat Francis Ngannou, and I was like, oh, wow, this guy is going to be big. Beat Stefan Struve, Alistair Overeem, Philip DeFries, Tai Tuivasa. He had his chance at Cain Velasquez, who was on like 5 straight defenses at this point, and he beat him for the heavyweight title at just 11-0. From Melbourne, Australia, the Gambit, Harrison Magallanes. At light heavyweight, Rumble Anthony Johnson, at age 38, is back into it. A great job by Anthony Johnson after losing to Ryan Bader earlier on in this save, losing to Daniel Cormier for the title, after losing to Gustafsson for the interim, after beating Gustafsson, I should say, for the interim title. So he held the interim title for a while, and then he lost to Cormier in the unification bout. Then he beat Vicente for the interim light heavyweight title again. And then when Daniel Cormier retired, I essentially decided to just make him the champion. So now he is the champion, and he's fighting against Ion Cutelaba for the light heavyweight title at an upcoming pay-per-view. If we take a look at the history of the light heavyweight title, we can take a look right here. We can see that since the beginning of the save, DC defended it 3 times against OSP, Gustafsson, and Manawa. And then Gustafsson beat Phil Davis for the interim title. Rumble Johnson defeated him. DC beat Johnson, beat Vicente, and then Rumble Johnson beat Vicente for the interim title. In the middleweight division, let's take a look quickly again at the heavyweight division, the history. And there you can see Cain Velasquez defending it 6 times after beating Miocic. Ridiculous. Including beating Cormier. And that's the fight that Cormier decided to hang it up for. Because if we look at Cormier, 43 years old, retired. Pretty sure he's going to retire soon in real life, which is kind of sad after he just lost to Stipe. Taking a look at the middleweights here. Paulo Costa, it's been all him since he beat Chris Weidman for the title. Last beating Bradley Scott in the welterweight division. Vicente Luque, of course, beat GSP, and then I previously ran down all of his defenses. Lightweight, Conor McGregor is the champion. Michael Chandler, who is currently in Bellator right now, is the interim champion because Conor has been on hiatus for far too long. He last beat Kevin Lee. Michael Chandler beat Gaethje and then beat Divnich as he defends his interim title. He'll face off against Conor once he decides to come back. So, kind of like real life Conor, not really fighting all that much. Amanda Nunes, the featherweight champion, as she is in real life. She beat Marlois Conan after Conan had defeated Kaufman, who was the first person to beat Cyborg in the save. Conor McGregor also the featherweight champion and has yet to defend it recently. Jose Aldo, the interim champion. Aaron Pico was the interim champion for a while and had 2 defenses against Dalgiev and Holloway before Aldo beat him for that as well. Women's bantamweight champion is Yanan Wu. Very interesting. She just defeated Amanda Nunes for that title. There's been a lot of back and forth with this title, which I kind of like. Very competition, very close-knit division. Very fierce competition in that division. UFC bantamweight champion is Thomas Almeida. He's made 3 defenses. Movsar Evloev was the interim champion for a little bit, defeating TJ Dillashaw, but Almeida eventually got it back. Flyweight champion is Montana De La Rosa, who was on that season of The Ultimate Fighter that crowned the first flyweight champion. She's been the champion before, but she got popped for steroids in this game save, ironically enough, and she recently just defended her championship against Ariane Lipsky, who has been kind of a disappointment in the UFC in real life. Flyweight champion Naoki Inoue, who defeated Demetrius Johnson for the title, and has since defended it against Jose Torres and Hussier da Silva. Strawweight champion Janessa Mirandin, who is an Invicta in real life, recently beat Claudia Gagella for the championship. And women's atomweight champion is April Osenio, who won the championship at the Ultimate Fighter finale that I had to set up the first women's atomweight champion. And she's since beat Amanda Rabi and Kyra Batara to defend her title, and she has a fight already scheduled to defend it for the 3rd time against Macy Culberson. So it will be interesting to see if April can defend it yet again. And so that's kind of brought you up to speed a little bit. I've told you about the promotions that I have as far as my feeder leagues. I've told you about all the champions. So now, I guess it's time to just go through a fight card. And the next fight card we have scheduled for you here is UFC Fight Night, Gall versus Amosov. So in the main event, Mickey Gall and Yaroslav Amosov in the welterweight division. Mickey Gall 12-3, Amosov 25-1. Looks to be a good event, but first let's take a look at our mail. Mail time, like Blue's Clues, mail time. John Anik needs to be re-signed. Wow, I need John Anik because he is a very good analyst, as you can see there. A lot of big attributes under his name. Exclusive non-fighter. We'll give him $6,000 per show. Make the offer. There we go. John Anik is a treasure. Golden Boy Promotions approach Todd Monahan. Golden Boy Promotions approach Julian Marquez. I believe I've already offered these guys deals, so I don't think it's gonna. And I've had a bid fail here for a guy from KSW, which kind of sucks. Not an end of the world. He was just gonna be sent down to ROC to have a chance. So it is what it is. Weidman's back and Ganu's back, and we've had some guys sign. So Soshu and Esme need to be sent down. Veta needs to be sent down. So does Mikhail. So all of these guys need to be sent down. A lot of stuff going on here, and I will take care of it in a little bit. But first, let's go to fight night. So Mickey Gall, of course, the first guy to take out CM Punk, taking on Yaroslav Amosov in the main event. You can see the rest of the fights there, including Luke Rockhold, who recently got tore up at the recent Jones fight night. He's on this card, along with Matt Riddle, who's in the NXT in the WWE. He's actually a professional wrestler now. Taking a look at the prelims there, as we are about to be underway. And the first prelim includes Valentina Shevchenko. So, our current UFC flyweight champion, and a dominant champion at that, Valentina Shevchenko, for whatever reason, sucks in this game. You take a look at her fight history, has lost nearly every single fight, only getting wins over Alima Leigh McFarlane and Caitlin Chukagan. Everyone else hasn't been able to beat. Don't get it. Valentina sucks in this game. I don't understand why. She's an absolute destroyer. She should be just wrecking everybody, but she just can't get a win in this game. And she's facing off against Alima Leigh again. And let's see if she wins. I'm just going to skip to the end, and she wins. She knocks her out. Good for Valentina. Sucks that she's had such a terrible go in the save. She'll still have a job. Alima Leigh might not. She'll probably go back to Bellator after this. And she says that it was a tough fight against Alima Leigh McFarlane, despite her beating her already. Ugh. That sucks. And that's happened too. John Jones is not that great in this game. John Jones. Demetrius Johnson is not that good in this game. Henry Cejudo is not that good in this game. And it's not necessarily even the developer's fault, because they had nothing to do with this mod. Whoever created this mod did not make Valentina Shevchenko good enough, did not make Demetrius Johnson good enough, did not make Khabib Nurmagomedov good enough. It's just little oversights, you know. And I didn't make the mod. I don't have the time to make the mod, so I really don't have a reason to be bitching about it, but it's just wild that they haven't been good in the game save. So Kwan Ho Kwok, say that name 5 times fast, taking on Ronnie Yaya out of Brazil. Ronnie Yaya coming off a loss against Felipe Arantes. And Kwan Ho Kwok, I believe, is also coming off of a loss his own against Brian Caraway, the former Mr. Misha Tate. And so to see who comes out on top, and it's Ronnie Yaya in the first round via knockout. So nice win for Mr. Yaya. As we move on ahead, Martin Toro Bravo at 16-4, taking on Zuba Tukagov, of course a friend of Khabib Nurmagomedov. Take a look at what he's been up to. He recently lost to AJ McGee, a big prospect in real life in Bellator, as Martin Toro Bravo gets it done. Brings it back to Mexico. See if he can get something going on his end. Santiago Ponzinibbio, of course, out of Argentina. Recently had a fight night that he was the main event in. He's kind of a good prospect for the UFC in real life. Hasn't really been able to show it here in this game save. Coming off 3 straight losses as he takes on Luke Jumo. And Santiago finally gets a win back under his belt. Court McGee, of course, anyone who played UFC 3 Undisputed will know this man here, taking on Jiangling the Leech Lee, who's recently come under fire because he likes to poke people's eyes when he fights. Kind of a dick move on his part. You can see he's coming off a loss against Max Griffin. Court McGee, the veteran, coming off a loss to Keon Caldwell, and he's lost 5 of his last 6. This could very well be the end for him, should he not be able to get a win. Might be sending him down to ROC, but he actually beats Lee in the second round via TKO. So Court McGee sticking around, and the Leech needing to get his act together now. So Jake Ellenberger, another big veteran in the UFC, taking on Josh Burkman. 42 years old is Josh Burkman. Ellenberger, 37. High qualified wrestler, and Ellenberger wins via knockout, unbelievable, in 2 rounds, fighting out of Kings MMA, which is in Sacramento. And Burkman announces his retirement from the sport at 42 years of age. That is probably the best idea. Can we take a look at Burkman? I don't think we can, unfortunately. We'll take a look at that afterwards, as Azuna Zulu Anyanwu takes on Adam the Prototype Milstead in the last prelim fight 40 years old, is on Yadwu, the heavyweight, coming off a loss to Sergey Pavlovich. And Milstead, the favorites in this one, is coming off a loss to the kickboxer Rico Verhoeven. I'm taking Milstead in this one as he wins in the first round via TKO. As he invites everyone to a party. So the young man from Maryland trying to get some ladies at the party. As we start the main card of this one, Alexis Sneaky Zebra Dufresne taking on Beth Kohair. Of course, Kohair, a great fighter in real life, as Dufresne and her fighting in the featherweight division, and Dufresne comes out on top via split decision, so a close fight. And she wants to fight Arlene Blenko next. I believe she's a generated fighter in the UFC featherweight division, as Stun Gun Dong Yun Kim takes on NXT superstar Matt Riddle. 12-5-2. I think I just signed him just because of his name. He actually beats him, though, in a fantastic fight. Knockout punch in the round number 3. So a great fight from Matt Riddle, and he wins. Let's see if he gets popped for weed, though. Yushin Thunder Okami, probably 41 years old now, taking on Bojan Velikovic. 40 years old is Okami, the veteran, heavy underdog against Velikovic. And for a reason, he gets knocked out in round number 2. So Velikovic, now 23-9-1, has 5 straight wins. So I'd be surprised if he is not ranked after this. Has had quite a little career here in this game save. 1, 2, 3 losses, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wins now. So 8-3 in the UFC since he started here with me. Doing pretty good for himself as Vojan, and beating a nice veteran like Okami will definitely do you favors, despite him being old, obviously. Luke Rockhold now taking on Kelvin Gastelum. Gastelum in real life fighting Israel Adesanya for the interim middleweight title. Failed to win it. Rockhold getting his shit rocked at light heavyweight. And he is a odds-on underdog. Gastelum a heavy favorite, and he beats Luke Rockhold via knockout in round number 2. So Gastelum, the number 10 middleweight in the world, before this, coming off a defeat of Abdul Razak Al Hassan, lost to Bradley Scott before that, and beating Luke Rockhold now here today. So Gastelum will probably get a chance at fighting someone in the top 10 next. Good for him. I've always been a fan of Kelvin. And now Johnny Hollywood Case in the co-main event, taking on Beneil Dariush. Dariush, a very heavy hitter in real life. Johnny Hollywood Case, I believe, is coming off 2 straight wins. Anthony Pettis and Olivier Aubin-Mercier. Is he ranked? He is, in fact, the number 15 lightweight in the world. And Beneil Dariush is number 21 lightweight in the UFC, coming off a win over Evan Dunham. And so the winner here is going to be Johnny Hollywood Case. So Mr. Hollywood getting it done, the man from Iowa, as he praises Dariush for a tough fight as we head towards our main event. Mickey Gall taking on Yaroslav Dynamo Amosov. Of course, Mickey Gall coming out to, "Hey, Mickey, you're so fine," as he was, of course, the first opponent for CM Punk. Or is he at? Phil Brooks right there. Beat Mike Jackson as well. Beat Super Sage Northcutt. And then he lost to Randy Brown. But since then, he went on a 6-fight winning streak before losing to Andrei Koreshkov and Albert Tumanov in successive fashion. He's coming off a win over Sergio Moraes. And Amosov, 25-1 and undefeated in the UFC, 6-0. Coming off wins over Tarek Safadine and Ben Henderson. So very, very close fight this one, and I'd imagine the winner is going to be ranked after this. And I can't believe neither of them are ranked. Nonetheless, here for the main event of Gall versus Amosov, as both fighters coming forward here. Gall, more of a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. As you can see there, Sambo is what Amosov goes after more, the man from Ukraine. And of course, thank you guys once again for joining me for this little update video and a little bit of a fight night to throw at you as well. I've kind of missed doing this. Not sure if I'll do it a ton more moving forward. I might just update you every now and again. But I can tell that a lot of people have been missing the WMMA 5 content. Let me know down in the comments of anything else that you might want to see, any questions that you have, or if there's any other games that you might want to see, if you'd have maybe any interest in another save that I do in this game. I can start completely over and maybe do like a local to global type of thing. I'd be interested in doing that just so I can kind of play this save on my own and enjoy it, and then do a save for you guys on YouTube. I think that'd be pretty cool. Of course, I got work and school and stuff going on as well, but this is fun and I love this game, so I'll always make time for it. There's also this game coming out, a college football game coming out, which I really love because I'm a big college football fan. Doug Flutie's Maximum Football 2019. I'm looking forward to that immensely, and that'd probably be something that I'll put up on YouTube as well. As we enter round number 2, and it's looking like it's kind of a boring fight if I'm being honest. Not really much going on. No takedowns or anything of that nature, as we're just about done with round number 2 and not much is going on. Left hook to the body. Of course, body punches are what were the end of Daniel Cormier. Of course, he was winning the first 3 rounds, like hands down. It was just unbelievable what he was able to do. He had that weird little thing where he was like putting up his hands and then getting in the clinch and just really sticking it, to Miocic. But he wasn't able to take advantage of it, and he kind of got overconfident, and Miocic just took it at him with those body punches and then finished him off once he could see that he was tired. Just ridiculous. Into round number 3 now. Mickey Gall trying to get it back. Powerful right hook, and Mickey Gall is knocked out. Unbelievable. So Yaroslav Amosov getting the win via knockout in round number 3. Mickey Gall sent back to Las Vegas, Nevada. And Amosov now 7-0 in the UFC. How he's not ranked, I have no idea. Surely he'll be ranked after this. Commercial rating 90, critical rating 76. A great show overall, 5,000 in Alabama. And that is going to do it for us here, as popularity unchanged because I'm already 100% popular in this game save. I'm really good at managing all of that. $50,000 to the Performance of the Night winners. A profit of $1.5 million. Love to see that. And the name of the game here is just kind of managing all the fighters efficiently, making sure that you have your fight nights scheduled and whatnot, and putting yourself in the best position to make money so that way you can go after the best fighters and spend more money to make more money, essentially. That's kind of what the fight game is, really. You got to pay the best fighters to get them on the pay-per-views and try to draw in pay-per-view crowds. So it's something that I'm interested in, which is why I'm taking these sports management classes. So I don't know. I could see myself being a fight promoter maybe down the line. I don't know how I'd be able to, manage all the attitudes that go along with the fight game, but it's something that I'm definitely interested in. So maybe after I graduate from college, I'll intern with like the UFC or something, try to get into that game, because that is definitely something that I can see myself enjoying, and it wouldn't feel like work at all. It would be fun for me. I can't imagine it's super fun for Dana right now. He probably wants to hand this shit off to somebody else, but nonetheless, I thank you guys once again. I know that you guys have been missing this kind of content. I know it's not really all that much. I'm not the most, exciting or entertaining guy, but I can tell you guys really like the WMMA 5 content, and I appreciate you guys for it. So, my name is AZPlow21. Adrian is my actual name. AZPlow21 is the channel name, and I will see you guys later with hopefully some more WMMA 5 content. Have a good one, you guys.